Hey everybody, welcome to the Soul Food Priest podcast. It is wonderful to have you as always, and I'm here with Khira and Silvia Vega. Hey guys.
Hello. Hola, hola.
So, St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. And also,
Khira's
her birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Wow.
Thank you.
13 years old.
13.
Incredible. How does it feel?
Yeah, I actually forgot my age the other day.
Yeah.
Totally
It
did.
happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
I thought I was actually turning the age younger.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't true.
Yeah.
That's a sign of something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Hey, yours is coming up, though.
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah.
The 21st.
That's true.
You know when yours is. You know what age you're turning, right?
No, it's not till next year. The big 40 is next year.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
But
You're going to be 40 next year?
Yeah.
I mean, do you take your teeth out at night when you go to bed? Sylvia?
Yeah, like 4 of them. Okay,
Yeah.
so I began to tell myself, are you 40? No, wait, you're 39. So I've actually been
Ooh, girl.
pushing it. Like I'm already preparing myself to be 40 so that when it does happen, maybe it won't be as hard. But I keep hearing that 40s are actually better than 30s.
I think so.
So,
I think so.
we'll
I mean,
see.
when you get into your 50s, at a certain point, it's actually, I mean, I love it. People talk about, oh, it's hell getting older. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, I see why people say this, that because it's harder to get out of bed sometimes and your body sounds like, snap, crackle, pop, like Rice Krispies, right? But on the other hand, I would not, if I could choose between being 20 and being 52, I would definitely choose 52 or
That's
40.
good.
I mean, most definitely. I would
That's
never
good.
want to
Yeah.
go back to that.
Well, happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this,
Thank you. Love you
praise
guys.
God, it really is incredible. It's your birthday. This is a day to celebrate Khira and her amazing greatness.
Oh, well. And St. Patrick.
And because it's your birthday and because we want to celebrate you, of course, I'm going to embarrass her because that's what friends and sisters in
Please.
Christ do.
Please.
So
we do a close-up?
We had our trivia night a couple weeks ago, and one of our listeners, our good friend,
Yes.
which will go unnamed, but you know who you are.
Yes, you do.
Came to our trivia night and said, Sylvia, I listen to you guys all the time. Please embarrass Khira. He's a
Thank
friend
you.
of ours. So,
He's a good friend.
so we did
It's the only reason we're
what
doing
do we
this.
call it? Split the pot or
Yeah,
something to
yeah.
raise money for the church. And then
Which, by the way, I didn't get any.
No, he got a lot of tickets, too.
we got a lot of tickets.
It's all right.
So, you buy your ticket. You buy your ticket. And that usually people, what they do is they split it in half. They give you half of it because you
Right.
keep your number and then they keep your number.
Even I know this.
Well, supposedly,
Then you need to do a my job
allegedly,
next year.
our friend listener said that Miss Khira sold her the tickets, but didn't split it in half. So his numbers were not in the pot.
Oh. Uh-huh.
So at the end of the night, he goes, by the way, you stole my chances of getting half of that money.
Okay,
Yeah.
and two things. I will defend
These
myself
are the
a
tickets,
little bit.
by the way.
Yeah, those are the actual ones. I will defend myself a little bit because this person also could appreciate this. One, it's a claim that I don't remember actually taking place. So I'm not totally saying I did it, but I'm also saying I didn't do it
I think
either.
I believe our
And
listeners.
to that point, it's worth pointing out there was an open bar. So let's just say that
Yeah.
she doesn't remember this taking place. Go ahead.
You did make me a
Yeah.
martini.
Yeah. All right.
Mardi
Go
Gras.
ahead. Go ahead. Sarah.
And number two,
You did it.
he had well over an hour and a half to realize he had
Well, that's a valid
these
point.
and could have turned them in and say, oh, I need it. It was kind of interesting how he didn't realize that until after
No, I think you did it on purpose.
the numbers were called. I think he did it on purpose just for this moment, just to have this. So you won. You
So
won.
I will put
Shout
these
out.
in a fake pot and we'll draw. You know what? I think we can give him one of our.
We'll give you a mug.
We'll give you a mug as a consolation prize. That'll come to you soon.
Yeah.
Thank
We're
you for
going to give you the
listening.
one that has the lipstick all over it.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go.
We'll
there we
sign
go.
it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, happy birthday, Khira.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Have you guys ever had clafoutis? Have you ever heard of clafoutis?
No.
No.
So, okay, that's what we have in front of us. So, clafoutis.
Clafoutis, here I come.
Yeah, dig in. So this is, it's typically a cherry custard dessert. I'm not a big fan of the custard, plus eggs are expensive. So this is a little bit like what they would call a cherry Linzer tort. But we would call it, so it's made with hazelnuts and cherries. So I made that because we love you so much, Khira.
Thank you.
Yeah, and our hearts are united to you on your birthday.
Thank you. And my stomach.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Jake, who helps us produce the the podcast, does an amazing job make sure we get a good shot. So there's always a great shot of me like digging into all these pastries. So I will delicately bite into this today because last episode,
we had a big mess on our hands.
Remember we bit into that
I forgot about
king
that.
cake, and it was like me just like it was not your cake. It was not your fault. It was whoever was me.
Well, hopefully what's going to happen is Sylvia's going to get a cherry stuck in her teeth.
Oh, yeah.
And that way we won't tell her.
Yeah, we'll tell me.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
So what is on the base?
So it's hazelnut butter, little bit of almond, cinnamon. Kind of a mix.
There you go. Here we go.
We had a bunch of cherry that we were trying to use up from king cake season, so... ¿Cómo es? ¿Está bien? Okay.
It's not very sweet.
Yeah.
It's just...
I like the base.
Yeah.
That's not sweet. So
it's...
the sugar on top. Like...
It's got some sweetness, but not too much.
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing
good.
I would like with Earl Grey tea.
Yeah. That's what I was just not
Did
thinking.
you put a little bit of salt in it? To balance? I could,
Yeah, a large grain salt. Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very
So
good.
your next
Look at us,
question,
our
please
palates.
make sure that I'm not taking a bite of this because this will all be gone. Just saying. By the time we finish this episode.
Listen to us and our palates. It's
Yes.
not too sweet.
I
You
know.
Put some salt.
I mean, seriously.
What
So
is this
proud of
called
us.
again?
This is called clafoutis.
Clafoutis. I was going to say confoutis.
Kung Fu fighting.
CLAUFUTIS. Yeah, not kung fu fighting.
Definitely not from that region either.
Okay.
So, speaking of which, I have to ask you this.
Okay.
Have you, like, when you guys go home after a long, boring day of working with your pastor, do you usually cook dinner fresh, or do you give your kids, like, leftovers?
A little bit of both. So, you'll get a fresh meal, and if it's a big one, there's leftovers. Then the next day, you'll have leftovers.
Okay.
But usually, it doesn't happen a lot because I have to admit, I do spoil my kids to the point of, I don't want to eat that again. I'm like, okay, well then I'll eat the leftovers and they'll get something else. But I think it's a balance of both.
Yeah.
So my husband, shout out to him, who's probably running on a treadmill because he watches our show
Okay.
on a treadmill.
Okay.
So.
Nice. Okay.
I need to get on a treadmill.
So yeah, since I've started working full time, he's just taken on all the cooking.
Has he?
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
I come home and there's either a meal already on the table and people seated around it and ready, or he's got the meal plan, he's cooking it or is going to cook it. So I've been spoiled now from that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now it's kind of like, oh, I need to get back into cooking because it has been a while.
And you help me when we do baking.
I do.
Yeah,
So
which is awesome.
I love it, and
Yeah.
I do love it. But I did realize, though, like this weekend, I was working on something, and he had stuff laid out, and I had stuff laid out. And I was like, oh, I need my space. I need my space
happens.
when I'm cooking. Like,
Yeah.
he takes out like all the ingredients at the
Does
same
that happen?
time.
Does that happen to you as well?
Well, one of the things, it's really funny when you're a priest, to your point, because people often tell us, oh, Father, we'd love to have you come over and you cook.
Yeah.
I mean, this happens a lot, right? But they don't really want you to cook in their kitchen. And they usually have a beautiful kitchen,
Yeah.
but they don't really want you to cook in their kitchen.
Yeah.
Because they're a little bit OCD about how and where they want stuff, which I get because I'm kind of that way in my kitchen. But what I usually do is I cook things at my place
In
and then
advance,
bring it
yeah.
and
That's
just
smart.
kind of serve it. And but yeah, there's something really good about being clean and
Yeah.
cleaning as you go. That's very, very difficult for men to understand, the concept of
Yeah.
cleaning as you go.
Well, and I've picked that up from you too.
Yeah.
Because it's just
much,
like I
much
clean
better.
as I go now, and I'm like, oh. So when he takes out all the ingredients at the same time, I'm like, oh, I start getting anxiety.
Have you ever
So
found
that
yourself
was-
like before you begin the cooking, like if you had a hectic day the day before and your kitchen is not like up to par? I can't begin cooking
No.
if my kitchen
No.
is not like
Yeah.
sparkling clean.
No.
So by the time I'm done, I'm like, I need help with the dishes because I just did the dishes
Yeah.
before I cooked. So the kitchen has to be immaculate. But if I'm
No.
going to be doing any kind of cooking,
Well, you can't enjoy the meal then.
can't,
I
yeah.
can't. And you, we've talked about on the podcast before this phrase they have in French called mise en place. Have you heard this? Mise en place. So
No.
they like chefs will call it get your mise together, spelled
Oh.
M-I-S-E. Basically, what that means is it translates as everything in its place.
Oh, okay.
Mise en place. So chefs will get like whatever you're going to bake. That's very important for baking, so you don't get halfway through and realize, man, I don't have any like
Oh, that's
baking
smart.
powder. So you have it all laid out, ready to rock, measured, and that's especially true in restaurants. You got your mise in place, but then you also have to clean as you go.
Yeah.
So it's muy importante.
Oh, yes.
And like, what made me think of it is we're talking about like leftovers and like this kind of stale food. And I had somebody ask me last weekend at Mass. They said, Father, like I feel like my spiritual life is just kind of stale. It's not bad. It's just kind of stale. Like, how do I give it a like jumper cables?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that later. I was outside having a cigar, and I was thinking about that, and I thought, like, what's the sign of a growing parish or a stale parish or dying parish? And I mean, I'm not an authority on anything, but I would say like I went home and I started doing some research on this, and so I'm just gonna like share with you guys some of the things that other people have said, like some of the things that people have posted on social media, and some of the couple of the articles I read. So these are some of the signs of a stale parish. Okay.
Here we go.
know.
Yeah. So
Buckle
like,
up.
are we growing? Are we dying? So just a list. You know, you're. I mean, something that's really funny. It's signs of a dying parish. Number one, there's just no growth. People they throw sharp elbows with groups. This is my little group. You've had
yeah.
Dorothy
Yeah.
or Sam, who's been in charge of this group since 1812. We say we want new members, but we don't really want new members. I always call it the little pope syndrome. We're the little pope of our own little thing. There's cliques. Very cliquey parish. You have to rub shoulders with the right people to be anybody. There's a distant pastor. Our Sunday visitor, who's really out of touch
Sunday visitor.
with what's going on, what's struggling with the parish, right? He's the provider of the sacraments. They can't identify with the music. It's one of those things like, gather us in the weak and the weary.
By the way,
like funeral song.
That's on
Oh.
the band list, and I told him, as his friend, if I ever have the honor of singing at his funeral, that will be the song that he will,
Well,
be
and I'm happy to
brought
say I'm
into the
apparently not the only one that can't stand that song.
I won't do that
No,
to
you're
you,
not.
though,
And
but
so,
I'll be
like,
thinking it.
I
Just
mean,
know that.
who thought this was a good idea? I mean, I'm not the oracle on liturgical music, but I know a couple things. No. Okay. So
Shout out to the
little pet
the
peeve of
list
his.
continues. Stale homilies, right? So we kind of, I was reading through it, it's like, okay, the pastor pulls out a file. Third Sunday, ordinary time, pull it out, read it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
in other words, they're not there's no spiritual juice. Okay, the facility itself can sometimes represent the spiritual life of where people are at. Do they upkeep the facility? I mean, it's an obvious point. Keeping in mind, of course, there are parishes that will have an alive parish, but the facilities run down because maybe they don't have any money.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to paint with a broad stroke. There's no community, zero community. People, the parish forgets the real mission.
Yeah.
They get sidetracked. They forget the real mission. Does the staff dread coming to work?
No, we don't. We look forward
I
to
drive an
Okay.
hour to get to
Okay.
work. So.
Just saying, especially, some people's birthdays and making them fun and
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
dressing up as your pastor and getting bald heads. We look forward to it. So
Yeah.
I think we're okay in that department.
Yeah, we're good
The
there.
Father Ben Eras tour.
Yeah.
That was great.
I mean,
It was great.
after the therapy, I'm going to be fine. It's
Yeah.
going to be fine.
Yeah.
Are they plagued by divisions? Plagued by divisions. Do they hate change? That's a big
I think that's
one.
a big
That's
one.
massive.
And to some extent, I mean, everybody kind of is allergic to change.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between not liking change and being openly dysfunctional and toxic to change.
Yeah.
And that is a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
And there does kind of become a point in some parishes wherein some people, it's just, they just end up leaving.
Yeah.
Right, because they're not going to change. They're so cemented and concretized into old ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And they often have in their mind the way it used to be was better, and you're trying to amputate the way it used to be.
Right.
Therefore you're the enemy.
Yeah.
Right. And so and that's hard, and we see that, of course, in the Catholic Church. We see that, of course, in other non-denominational churches. We see that in every major institution. Anybody that's ever been a leader will testify to that. That happens in the military. So people, they just don't like to be pushed. And but I thought that was kind of interesting, some of those points.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like you said, we all have a little bit of an allergic reaction to when we hear the word change, because we're so comfortable in having a routine of what things, but is it really working? Or even if it's working, sometimes you just need to spice things
Yeah,
up.
that's right.
At work, at home, in church. So if you find yourself, being in that, because I think we all have a little bit of that.
Indeed.
If you find yourself in that, like you said, just have an open mind. Don't be toxic about it. Don't be, I don't want to. If you change, I'm gone. Open your mind to the new suggestions. You might be surprised. You're like, you know what? This is a change, but it's not a complete change. It's an improvement of what we're already, where we are. So I think
That's
we
a good
could all
point.
take a little help in
And
that
priests
area.
priests themselves can fall into this, and they can go kicking and screaming into a parish, and then 3 years later, they don't want to leave that parish because they love it so much.
Yeah.
And so that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you were going through those different things, it's all things that it's like, oh, yes, I see that. Experience that, know that, or we've all seen that in various ways, and so I was just kind of sitting here just thinking, like, what is it? When we talk about change and we talk about that, it's not like a change of church teaching or a change of
Exactly.
the mass or all the important things. It's really, I think beauty has to be the underlying factor of everything. It just is beauty. It's we might have to change the music, but bring it to this beautiful level to allow people to worship. We might have to change the way that this facade looks to make it beautiful, to invite people in. We might have to change the way the community looks and have more authentic people who are really welcoming, and it's not just a facade, and they're going to, backstab or anything or gossip or anything like that. Beautiful, authentic witnesses and forming beautiful communities of authentic people to really reach out and welcome people in. And once you start to see like those changes towards beauty happen, then real evangelization starts to take place. But it's not a change in like, no, you gotta do this thing that you don't like and all of it. It's all about reminding us, like kind of shocking us back into the beauty and the reality of our faith, rather than everything's so rigid or ritualistic and we just do the same thing and we check in and we check out and we don't talk to people, and then if Father so-and-so does this, we're going to gossip about him over here. There's none of that's beautiful. None of that helps anybody grow in any kind of faith, but it's maybe grappling with some of the things, maybe talking with the priest and saying, okay, this rubbed me the wrong way, or, just having the courage to face our own weaknesses, go to confession, talk to people, really air out the differences, and, and maybe trust and surrender,
what good may come out of it.
Yeah,
and that's well said.
Yeah, we all agree, though, that what might work for one parish might not work for a different parish. So if you, moved from this city to that city, and you come into a church and you really want to be involved, and you're like, well, I did this in my parish and I want to kind of implement it, don't feel bad that whatever, you tried something here and it didn't work. Sometimes the parish really are the communities are different. So what might be working at one parish might not in somewhere else. And also what I was thinking, because we've all been in a Bible study or a choir or a group of any kind of ministry where you felt, I guess, not more welcome, but like, oh, that suits me better, or that one. Sometimes don't feel like, oh, because not everyone smiled at me, you weren't welcome. We all have different personalities. I think that also ourselves, we might not be rubbing elbows or feeling like we're best friends with everybody. But you also have to take an accountability of what you're doing, not just what, what you're receiving. So also, if you feel like you're not welcome, make yourself welcome. Introduce yourself. Or what can I do to help? Or if you have these great ideas, maybe that group isn't doing, what can I do? Make yourself more available to your parish. Yeah. And if you want to see it flourishing more than what it is, what can I do? Make yourself available to your priest, to your brothers and sisters in ministry. Plug yourself in, and maybe use just that little spark that it needs.
Yeah, and those are excellent points, which kind of counters, like that would be that was kind of my follow-up question. What are some of the signs of a thriving parish, right? And if, other than the obvious points, growth and these kind of things, and community and such. But I think those are great points that you guys enumerate. I would add to that too, my suggestion when I'm talking to clergy privately, especially if they're a new pastor, I tell them it's good to build up what they call spiritual equity with people before you start coming in like a bull in a china shop,
I like that.
Changing, because they need to know you. And they take people always say, take ownership of your parish, take ownership of your parish, take ownership of your parish. And then some pastors are frustrated when they take ownership of their parish. Yeah. And so they don't appreciate people that come in and start exploding and changing things. So I don't fault them for that. But I think my suggestion is, man, just wait 2 years. Just listen, go to these people's homes, get to know them, bury their mothers, their fathers, baptize their grandchildren, so you have a spiritual equity with them. And then when you're encouraging them to change, they're far more likely to listen. They still may not like it, but they'll walk with you more. And so these are important points. What else do you guys think, just as our final point, what else would you say is kind of a sign of a growing parish, like in your experience?
Of a growing parish. Well, what, I sit up in the choir loft, and I kind of have like a eagle view. I get to see everyone. I'm in the back. And what I've noticed from when we first arrived, what year did we arrive? 2018?
2018.
And the difference of seeing younger families with the younger generations and seeing, oh, look, now they have kids. Oh, look, now they're with their parents. Is their kids and their grandkids. So
it's true.
Maybe the grandparents first began coming to Mass, but it's now like a family thing. So I have visually seen that if there is a strong faith environment in a parish, you will see the grandkids and the children kind of all want to be together and worshiping together. No, I like that church. No, that's not. That's that priest. I love him, but it's just not what my cup of tea. I prefer here. So what I think we're not perfect, but what we have, I think, worked towards, and we're still got a long way to go, is that we're trying to take all the good, and when something doesn't work, take it out and then grab another thing that's good. And you know what? Oh, let's do all traditional hymns. We have an older community, but oh no, look, the grandkids come. Okay, let's plug one of those newer songs to get the grandkids. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so grab all the good. Look at your parish and try to cater to every single person in that pew. And it's not going to be perfect. You're going to mess up. Things are going to be that what you do is you take that out, but don't take away all the good. Don't be discouraged and just grab a little bit.
That's right.
You can visually see.
Yeah, and you pivot
when it starts working.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
So I had a couple of thoughts. I think one of the things, because I was talking to my uncle yesterday, who's a deacon, and I was just like, we know as a staff, Father Ben, we're important to him. Like, we are absolutely important, and we know that. And he lets us know how important we are. And he always says, I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. And, and he's like, allergic, and we've all heard, I'm allergic to micromanaging and all of that, And as I've read on St. John Paul II, like, that was one of his big qualities, was not a micromanager. And so we have a staff that's excited and who, has fun. We work together, but we're also willing to do a lot of work because it's just, it's good. And we know it's just all beautiful. And, you don't dread going into work. It's not, all of that. And you're allowed to dream and do all that. So I think when you have that kind of staff who's that excited and supported, it starts to trickle into
good roots
into the parish as well. And so that's, to me, will be a sign of a growing parish, as an excited staff, because that's going to develop even further with their ideas and what the pastor wants.
I agree with that.
And then I think too, like on my level of adult faith formation, yes, people coming to classes is wonderful, it's beautiful, and it's great. And, and you could get hyper-focused on the numbers. But when I hear, hey, I went to Mass and I saw this person and we reached out to each other and we're hugging each other and now we're sitting together in the pews and now we're sitting together at Mass and I'm getting their group text messages and I'm hearing that, or I'm hearing people who have been away from the church for a while and coming back and they're going to confession and having these massive conversions. These are like the small things that you don't see that go under the radar. But to me, that signifies massive growth. It's just, I get chills just even thinking about listening to some of these people's stories, or just that moment where I heard them say, I saw this person at Mass and we hugged each other in the pew and it was like we were sisters. And, I just, again, get chills just thinking, like, there it is. Like, that's, and then they become disciples themselves and they bring two friends to a class. And you're like, see, now you're doing it. You're taking ownership of your faith. You begin to see your parish, and you're bringing it
outside of the parish as well. So not only do you just see it Sunday, in the pew. You begin to see it outside.
Yeah.
So that I've
Yeah.
seen that, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Well,
It's
and
a
thank you
blessing.
guys, because you have a very unique perspective, and so thank you. That's helpful for all of us, including myself, to hear.
And
So
we
thank you for sharing.
for being a
Yes.
great leader.
Yes.
And we encourage all the pastors and priests who feel a little bit discouraged to just, you know what, it's as easy as just be friends and with your staff. And if they're happy, you're happy, your church is happy. So we have great roots to go
It
on.
helps.
And we thank you for that. You're a great leader.
Oh, thank
you.
you. It's a joy. It's a joy. Yeah. Listen, please know that we're praying for each one of you. Don't forget to put soul in your food and give food to your soul. God bless you.